Before we get started in today's presentation, I would like to offer a land acknowledgement. Although almost all of our attendees are not currently in Hamilton or at McMaster, we recognize that McMaster sits on the land that will eventually bring us together, and it is located on the traditional territories of the Mississauga and Haudenosaunee nations, and within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. I encourage you to explore Canada's Indigenous roots when you finally get to McMaster and get to Hamilton. There are a lot of resources available to everyone on this land, and this is a very important of Canada that I hope you'll eventually love as well. Today, we will mainly talk about three topics. The first topic is the School of Graduate Studies, where I will introduce you to the School of Graduate Studies, what we do. The second topic is the services and resources available for graduate students within the university and throughout the student services area in the university. And of course, I will talk a bit about traveling to McMaster, the current entering Canada process, and some tips about arriving in Hamilton during the winter break, during the winter holiday season. And then we'll get to some of the Q&As. Okay, to get started, we'll talk about the School of Graduate Studies. This is Gilmore Hall, which is the building that the School of Graduate Studies is located in. As an office, we host we have the Dean of Graduate Studies and your Associate Graduate Deans, and also the Center Administration and Resources for all faculties. So that includes the admission and graduation team, the PhD defenses, rules and regulations, forms and policies, scholarships and awards, grad pay inquiries, and also the graduate student resources team, which I am a part of. Your first interaction with graduate studies is probably our front desk, whether it is our physical front desk or our virtual front desk. Our virtual front desk now consists of a very helpful live chat available on any of the graduate studies website. And if you're looking for quick answers to a simple question, I recommend the online chat as the quickest way to get your answers. And make sure that you're on any of the grad studies website, because the live chats throughout the university are managed by different offices. You may also email grad studies at askgrad@mcmaster.ca for any issues related to your enrollment or retrieving online letters from Mosaic, or any issues with your student photo upload. You can also email askgrad to update your records, such as a name change or a future citizenship change. Information on petitions such as leaves of absences, withdrawals can also be provided from askgrad. Please note, if you have questions that are program specific, such as questions about your requirements for your degree, what courses you're going to take, you should ask your program directly. And this lovely person on the screen right now, I should have introduced a little earlier, is Kevin. Whenever you reach out to our front desk or reach out to askgrad, Kevin is likely the mind behind all our grad studies channels, and he's very great at answering questions, so please be kind to Kevin. Next, I will talk a bit about scholarships. So all scholarships applications at McMaster is managed through this platform called Award Spring. The Award Spring login tile can be found in your Mosaic homepage. So how it works is that students will complete one application with their information and their profile to be matched with all the awards they're eligible for. This platform also tracks the completion of any additional applications requirements and is a user-friendly dashboard. If you have any questions about applying to scholarships, please email graduatesscholarships@mcmaster.ca. All the links and emails I'm mentioning throughout the presentation will be shared by my colleague Catherine in the chat. So as a graduate student, you may be receiving payments from the university, and the payments kind of divides into two categories. So the scholarships and awards and your employment payments. They are managed by two separate areas, and they will be issued kind of differently. So your scholarships and awards, so funding such as entrance scholarships, department scholarships, and tuition bursaries, they are managed through the Student Center in Mosaic. This payment will be sent to your email via Interact e-transfer, and you can follow the instructions on the email to deposit this money into your bank account. If you will be employed as a teaching assistant or are a research assistant in lieu of TA, you must provide your bank information to the Human Resources Department because you are an employee of the university. The Human Resource Department will ask for your bank information, and your payments will be deposited directly into your Canadian bank account. If you have any questions about your scholarship payments, please email gradpay@mcmaster.ca. Working in Canada is a bit more complicated for international students comparing to domestic students. So these are some of the things you should be mindful of when you're working in Canada. In order to work in Canada, you need to have a social insurance number and a Canadian bank account. This you can apply to when you arrive in Canada because the social insurance number application will ask for your valid study permit and a proof of your Canadian address. As a graduate student, you may work up to an average of 10 hours a week on campus. That includes your TA and RA work. This applies to both domestic and international students. And if you wish to work off campus, your study permit will outline a condition for you to work in Canada. And this is typically up to 20 hours a week, but make sure to check your study permit to make sure this condition is up there. For more information, our immigration advising team have a very helpful page regarding working in Canada. You can also find employment on campus through Mosaic. When you log into Mosaic, there is careers opportunities page. Now, there are some general reminders about some upcoming key dates that are relevant to students starting in January 2022. You will be getting communications soon in the upcoming weeks about uploading your proof of vaccination on MacCheck, and that is maccheck@mcmaster.ca. You will need your Mac ID to access this platform. We recognize that international students may face challenges to meet the December 20th deadline to complete their full vaccination. If you are one of the students who may not have access to vaccines from your home country, or you're meeting challenges with meeting this deadline, please let the MacCheck team know as soon as possible. And that email is vacc@mcmaster.ca. You will receive a detailed email about MacCheck and the vaccination requirement in the upcoming weeks from the School of Graduate Studies. So please look out for that email and read that email and follow the directions in that email as best as you can. If you have any questions about the vaccine requirement, please email vac@mcmaster.ca. January 25th is when your tuition is due, and January 31st is when you're required to complete the SGS 101 and 201 courses. We do have a helpful tip sheet about how to enroll in SGS 101 and 201. One of the teams within the School of Graduate Studies is our Grad Resources team. So I am a part of the Graduate Resources team, so is Andrea, who will be coming out later. So the team is responsible for events, workshops, and providing resources and connections to graduate level students. Some of the things we have a lot of information about is supervisory relationships, because this is a unique relationship between the graduate student and their supervisor. We also have academic resources, as well as wellness and community resources, and professional development opportunities for all graduate level students. We have a very helpful community resources page where all of these resources are gathered. In addition to the community resources page, I encourage you to read the emails sent by Graduate Studies, and including the email that you have already gotten for information for incoming graduate students. As well, when you start your program, you will start getting an email called the Weekly. It's a weekly newsletter that Graduate Studies sent out, and it contains all the information you need about upcoming events and the upcoming opportunities, even upcoming new scholarships. We also have a very rich bank of recorded orientation webinar, and the webinars that are included are topics about disability in grad school, services and resources for all graduate students, systematic review, research skills, the finding off-campus housing webinar, which took place live last week but has been recorded, and some really fun Q&A events with our current international graduate students. And as the International Graduate Students Coordinator, I would like to talk a little bit just about my role. So my role within Grad Studies is to support international graduate students throughout their student life experience. So from before you join us at McMaster to your graduation. I plan programming and events that addresses and advocates for international students' needs. So events like this and programs that you will learn about a little later. And I also am happy to connect with students individually or as a group to relevant services and resources they're looking for. You're always welcome to email me at my email or book a one-on-one appointment with me if you want to talk about something face-to-face and live. One of the programs that I am excited to introduce you to is the International Grad Navigator program. The registration for this program will open in the upcoming weeks and you will receive an email about it. But essentially this program is about, through this program, you will be connected to another current international graduate student who's from a similar culture or background as you, and you can connect with this current student to learn more about life in Canada and to get their personalized advice about studying as a student at McMaster University. So I do encourage you to look out for that email and to sign up for this program if you like to. Next, I will pass the floor to my colleague Andrea Cole to talk about services and resources available on campus.
Thank you very much, Yufei, and hello, everybody. I'm Andrea, as Yufei mentioned, and I work with her and the rest of our team in the student resources area of the School of Graduate Studies. And I'd just like to say welcome to McMaster. We're really so happy that you've chosen McMaster for your grad school, and we're here to support you throughout your journey. So I'll be talking about a little bit more in depth about the campus services and resources that are available to you throughout your time here. So I'll start with a few resources for and important information for students with disabilities. If you have a disability and you need to set up accommodations for your academic work, you can connect with student accessibility services as soon as possible, ideally before your coursework and classes begin, but you can access accommodations at any time throughout your degree. So we have a link here to book an appointment, and just of note that accommodations for graduate level work can look a little bit different from undergraduate studies. And so anytime you complete a new degree at McMaster, you'll for disabilities, you will re-register with SAS, as we call it. Our website in the School of Graduate Studies also has information about different types of disabilities and examples of accommodations that students might access during graduate school. We also provide tips on disclosing a disability in the academic or work environment, rights and responsibilities, and all of the relevant policies that could apply to you. And we also offer ways to connect with other students, communities of students who identify as disabled, those with physical and mental health disabilities, MAD identifying students, and neurodiverse communities as well. So the previous slide was about academic accommodations, and if you have a TA-ship or any type of employment on campus, you would access accommodations for disability through human resources. So it's just a bit of a separate process because of the different categorization. But we also have support for employees with disabilities, and there's a career access professional services team within the Student Success Center that can help with navigating all of these accommodations processes and provide guidance, community support, and so on. So we recommend checking that out as well. So in terms of health and wellness, just to give you an overview of how you would access different health and wellness services, all international students are required to have UHIP, that's your universal university health insurance, and you're automatically set up for that. And so you don't have to do anything to activate it. And UHIP basically covers the cost of you visiting a doctor or any emergency medical care, like if you had to visit a hospital for any reason. That's what UHIP covers universally. And then, so if you want to see a doctor, a family doctor, or any medical condition, we have physicians available to you on campus through the Student Wellness Center. So you can access a doctor there as well. There's psychologists, social workers, and a whole host of programming to provide counseling options in addition to medical services, and a lot of wellness programming as well. There's also a newsletter that's provided by a group of graduate students called the Grad Wellness Team. And you can sign up for that newsletter to hear what types of programming is offered specific for graduate students in the realm of health and wellness. So I definitely recommend for graduate students to sign up for that newsletter and check out the Student Wellness Center website for the types of programming that you could access there. So the Student Wellness Center, that's for your physician, and as I mentioned, nurses, social workers, and so on, and that's all covered through your UHIP plan. There's some types of healthcare that aren't covered through UHIP in terms of covering the cost. And so you have additional insurance that you pay for through the Graduate Student Association for those additional types of healthcare access. So that would be the GSA plan that's called Student Care. And that would cover things like visiting the dentist, physiotherapy, prescription drug costs, massage therapy, things like that that are additional. And you also have access to a support line called Empower Me, which offers 24/7 mental health and wellness counseling services. That's through your GSA plan. And then if you're a teaching assistant on campus and you're leading tutorials or labs, you're part of QP 3906, which is an employee union for TAs. And you have additional coverage through QP as well. And these are plans that you're automatically signed up for, so you don't have to do anything to initiate. We also have offerings for spiritual care on campus. There's a new center called the Spiritual Care and Learning Center. And this is sort of a hub for religious, Indigenous, and spiritual matters and observances. You can find out more about it through visiting their website. And if you're looking for anything like prayer spaces on campus or ways to get involved with your own or different faith communities, you can visit the Spiritual Care and Learning Center website to find out more. And there's another group called Student Open Circles, which is offering access to something called spiritual companioning, reflection circles, where you can connect with other students through mindfulness practice, creative expression, and discussion. And Open Circles also offers volunteer opportunities within the Hamilton community with local nonprofits. So that's a great way for students who are looking to get involved with the Hamilton community and some volunteering that's outside of the university gates. For students who have parenting responsibilities, we do have a Grad Parents Network, which is essentially a Facebook group. If you have Facebook, you can sign up and check out our page there. And we do offer some additional resources on our website with information for parents. We host webinars for parents to try to build that community, and so that students, graduate students who are parenting during graduate school can share resources with each other and find mutual support. So University Technology Services, or UTS as we refer to it, is where you access your Mac ID, and you would set that up, which gives you access to services like your McMaster email account, Microsoft 365, a login for the off-campus housing portal, and you'll become very familiar with entering your Mac ID within the McMaster online system. And important to note too that as graduate students, you have access to Office 365 applications such as Word and Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and Teams. These are all free for students with a McMaster email account. And some of your classes and appointments will take place on Teams as well. For teaching and learning, we have the McPherson Institute for Teaching and Learning. This is a hub that provides skills and training and resources around classroom instructional skills. They run a teaching and learning certificate program for graduate students. They offer training for teaching assistants, various workshops, and there's a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for as well to find out more about the offerings through the McPherson Institute. So academic resources, there's a nice complement of offering for graduate students around writing skills and support. And so through the Writing Center, graduate students can book a one-on-one appointment with a trained graduate level writing assistant for 45 minutes per visit. And they also offer graduate level writing workshops as well. So this is a great place to access if you're looking for support with any of your writing assignments, thesis, dissertation, and that could involve pre-writing strategies like outlining and mapping your ideas to really looking to improve your academic level writing and the new types of writing that you'll be working on through your graduate degree. There's also something called thesis writers boot camps for those who will be working on a thesis or dissertation. And there's several online resources as well that you can check out all on the School of Graduate Studies Writing Resources page. And then the McMaster Office for the Development of English Language Learners, otherwise known as MODEL, is an office and service that's available for all English language learners and newcomers who are working in English and looking to improve their English language proficiency. And they offer one-on-one help as well as group workshops and other types of programming. So you can check out all of their offerings through the Model website. So library and research skills. We have specialized graduate studies librarians at McMaster, depending on your faculty. And so we recommend and encourage looking into your grad studies librarians. They're available for one-on-one research consultations around advanced research skills using library resources. They can help you with citation management and so on. There's also, when you arrive on campus, there's a graduate student and postdoctoral study room in Mills Library, which is just a special dedicated space just for graduate students if you're looking for a quiet place to do some work and study or write on campus. And there's a lot of remote support available to you through the library as well, through the hub that we've listed here. In terms of financial planning, there's something called the Mac Money Center, where you can work with money coaches. There's one-on-one meetings with an accredited money coach. There's also workshops that you can access there as well. If you require emergency financial support throughout your degree, there's also bursaries that you can apply for through the Student Financial Aid Office, and the Graduate Student Association also can offer some help with grants and bursaries as well. So keep those in mind in the future should you run into financial hardship during your degree. International Student Services, which is available to all international graduate students at McMaster. So you've already become familiar with UFE, of course, and the services that are available for international students include the UHIP, the health plan coverage called UHIP, which we talked about earlier. Also, a whole variety of events and activities designed just for international students. There's success coaching. You can meet one-on-one with Andrew for student success coaching. And then there's also an immigration and mobility advising component as well. So if you wanted to book with an appointment with any of the ISS staff, you would do so through Oscar Plus and visit the website for more information. And equity, diversity, and inclusion, we have the Equity and Inclusion Office, which promotes and supports institution-wide commitments to equity, diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. This office covers human rights and dispute resolution, inclusion and anti-racism education, accessibility, sexual violence, prevention and response, and also is responsible for the administration of all of the equity and inclusion policies that are governed through McMaster, such as accessibility, discrimination and harassment, and sexual violence policy as well. And
Thank you
that's
so
what I
much.
had. Back over to you, Yufei.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And I know that Andrea did an amazing job explaining all the services to you, and we do recognize that there is a lot of information and we're barely kind of scratching the surface of describing them. This webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to our webinar library. So I highly encourage you to revisit this section especially, or access the webinar when you need it. We do recognize there's a lot of information and we do not expect you to become an expert of everything within 30 minutes. But thank you so much, Andrea, for going through all the services with us today. So to continue the conversation, I will talk about traveling to McMaster. And in this section, I will start by sharing some tips about preparing for your arrival, and of course, getting into the arrival process in this current environment of the pandemic. If you're not already familiar with international travels or going to another country for residency or staying for a very long time, these are some of the common items to pack and some tips that we have gathered from our other students. So if you're from a country where you use a different kind of power adapter, you might want to research into this and bring electronics from your home if you're bringing electronics from your home country to make sure that when you arrive in Canada, you can still charge your phone and charge other electronics. Make sure to bring your personal medicine and doctor's prescription. when you are arriving for the first time, you will be able to access medication and doctor's visits when you're in Canada, of course, but it's always a good idea to have something with you to cover at least the first month, so you can feel secure and have this resources with you without rushing to see another doctor. Some students really connect with foods and snacks from their home country when they're feeling homesick or when they're feeling nostalgic. They bring non-perishable snacks with them. So that is, packaged snacks. Don't bring any raw fruits or vegetables because they won't be able to make through immigration. But we do encourage you to bring some, snacks from your home. Also always bring copies of official documents and emergency contacts, because when you lose your original copy or something happens, the copied documents will always be helpful for you to replace documents or act as a backup to as a proof of your identity. Consider comparing prices of items in your home country and in Canada to determine if you should bring it or buy it in Canada. A lot of students told me that they found that, especially with the snacks, that they brought all the way from home, and then they realized they can get it from a local supermarket and it might be even cheaper. So it might be helpful to look up grocery stores in Hamilton and just to see their flyers, see what they have on sale and the pricing. The climate in your home country might be very different compared to Canada. And this is something folks are especially kind of concerned or worried about when they're coming to Canada during the winter. So I will talk a bit about joining McMaster, joining Hamilton in the winter. This is a picture of our campus of the transition between winter and fall, and it could be kind of beautiful. But winter is usually from December to March. We are not in winter yet, but we're really quickly approaching there. The average temperature is around -8 degrees Celsius. It might not look like much, but there's another factor in winter, which is wind chill. So when it's windy and when there's other factors considered, it can feel a lot colder than it seems. And weather forecasts and apps in Canada in the winter often show you the temperature and the wind chill. And as a person, I feel like the wind chill will be more relevant to our daily lives. So it does get colder, even though the number might not seem as bad. Some offices and businesses may be closed during the holidays if you're arriving at around that time. So for example, McMaster offices will be closed during the entire holiday period, whereas businesses such as stores, malls, and banks, they may open during they may have more flexible hours and just close on Christmas Day or New Year's Day, but open the other time. If you need to go somewhere, I highly recommend checking the hours before you go. Some students are really interested to find out that solstice is December 21st. What this means is December 21st is the shortest day of the year. So going to December 21st, the days are just going to get shorter and shorter. But after December 21st, you will see more sunlight. So for example, on December 21st, the sunrise is expected at 7:48 a.m. and the sunset is as early as 4:46 p.m. So if you're a person who loves the sun and likes to take walks, this is something that you might want to take a note of. Next, I will talk a little bit about just dressing for winter. If you are not familiar with a climate such as what we will have in the winter, you might be going into buying winter gears blind. So this is a picture that I found from McMaster's own kind of photo reservoir. So these are real students walking on our campus during the winter. And I feel like this picture really is a really good example of what people dress like in the winter in Hamilton, specifically on campus. So make sure you have the following items. So you can see both of these people have a pretty big, thick winter jacket. They both have boots that kind of covers their ankles, and especially the person on the front, you can see that their boots are very likely waterproof because you will likely walk through snow or melted snow. They're both wearing something on their head, something to keep their head warm, and they both have a pretty big scarf to keep their ears warm as well. And this is very common, kind of like a setup for walking outside during the winter. And you can't see the person in the back, but the person in the front definitely have their hands covered as well, because you use your hand a lot, of course, for the phone or to do other things outside. So make sure your hands are covered. Something that always comes up during these presentations is snow pants. In general, we recommend snow pants are not really needed unless you're outside for an extended amount of time or doing a winter sport such as hiking or skiing, because to the next point, that inside spaces can be very, very warm. So students are usually encouraged to layer up because it is very, very likely that you won't need your jacket or anything else mentioned in this slide when you're inside, and wearing a snow pants might really hinder you to kind of move around or just become too warm for the indoor weather. And of course, in Canada, all indoor spaces, including the bus, they have heating, and the heating, I would say, is sufficient. So you don't need to worry about being warm when you're in any indoor spaces. So these are just some of the tips for you to arrive in Hamilton. Some students, if they're from a country where the winter does not get this cold at all, they might, get a jacket from their home country, and then after they arrive in Hamilton, they get another jacket in Canada, and that's perfectly normal as a practice, because if you're from a place where it doesn't get this cold, they might not sell clothes that can handle the cold. So these are some of the things that you may consider. And next, we'll dive right into the COVID-19 travel measures. This information I'm sharing right now is accurate as of today. Luckily, nothing has changed between November 15th and today when I made the presentation slides. So if you are an international student trying to get to Canada, this is the general process. And I highly, highly recommend for when you're traveling to visit the international grad student traveling to McMaster page, because if anything changes, if anything, if the government announces new policies, we'll make sure to update that information on this page. So folks visiting that page will always have the latest information. I will go deeper into these steps in the upcoming slides, but just to summarize, when step one, preparing for travel, is when you're gathering documents and purchasing your plane tickets. Step two, you can declare your arrival plans on the iSend tab. It is mandatory for all arriving international students coming to McMaster to declare their travel plans, so the university is aware that you're joining us in Hamilton. Determine your quarantine plan, and we'll talk a bit more about your quarantine plan in the later slides. Step three is after you plan your arrival, you're prepared immediately for your immediate arrival to get on a plane. The Canadian government requires that you to get a negative COVID-19 test result within 72 hours of departure, and you are also required to download and complete the information requested on the Arrive Can app within 72 hours. Unfortunately, you can't declare your information on the Arrive Can app before 72 hours because you won't have access to the app until then. After arrival, so there's an asterisk to this step because these steps are only relevant to if you need to quarantine. I will talk again a little bit more about the quarantine, the fully vaccinated traveler requirement a little later. But in short, some of you may meet the fully vaccinated traveler requirement and some may not. If you do meet the fully vaccinated traveler requirement and the border agent declare you to have done so, you will not need to quarantine. If you don't meet the fully vaccinated traveler exemption, you will need to quarantine. So during your if you are in the latter group, you will get a COVID-19 test upon landing. You will get a take-home test, which you will do on day 8. You will complete your quarantine until day 14. And meanwhile, you'll get daily checkups on the iSent app to let the university know that you're feeling okay and you are still in your quarantine. So let's dig deeper into step 1, preparing for travel. So if you are an international student, you are required to have a approved or valid study permit in order to travel to Canada. You do not need to be fully vaccinated. Vaccination is not part of the requirement for international students to arrive in Canada, but you do need a valid and approved study permit. And the study permit approval letter is something that you should bring if this is your first time entering Canada as an international student. And that letter is usually called a letter of introduction or the port of entry letter. It goes by many names. Essentially, that letter will contain information about yourself, the fact that your study permit has been approved, and the barcode that the border agent can scan. To prove that you are a McMaster student, you will bring your offer letter with you showing that you're going to start school in January or at an earlier term. If the visa office at your local visa office require you to bring any other documents with you, make sure you bring it. This can vary from person to person. So make sure you read the documents sent to you from the visa office. And a common thing to bring would be, proof of your financial situation, as a border officer may request to see that and to see that you can support yourself while in Canada. And the usual, such as your valid passport and personal IDs. You may determine to arrive anytime between a few weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before starting your program. If you need to arrive earlier for any reason, please make sure you have a good reason to arrive earlier than 4 weeks. A reason such as medical reasons or other reasons that is might be very personal to you. And if you're trying to arrive more than 4 weeks before starting your program, please note that it really is up to the border agent to determine if you have a valid reason and to determine you can enter at that time. And when you're purchasing plane tickets at this time, we still recommend students to review their airline's policy, especially considering pandemic-related delays or changes. So step 2, this is after you have, when you're arriving and have a date, have purchased your plane tickets. Make sure to declare your arrival on the iSent app. So detailed instructions is available on the international grad students traveling to McMaster page. Essentially, you're just telling university your travel plans and your commitment to follow all Canadian laws. Input your quarantine plan on the iSent app. I mentioned earlier that fully vaccinated travelers may not need to quarantine, but they are still required to have a quarantine plan in case they're required to quarantine. There are a few guided questions on the iSent app where you can, input your plans. And you may, for international graduate students at McMaster, you may plan to quarantine at a private residence as long as it's suitable for quarantining, or you can book a hotel room. If you need help booking a hotel room, there are a few options available through the iSent app. If you're planning to quarantine at your private residence, you can go use the government tool to determine if your quarantine location is suitable. So this is a very helpful tool where you can determine this before you arrive at the border. And the conclusion that the tool give you is very likely going to be the border agent's decision whether to when they're determining if your quarantine plan is suitable. Next, these are some of the things that you should do within 72 hours of departure. So one thing is to have the COVID-19 test result, make sure it's negative, and keep the proof of test result for at least 14 days after you arrive in Canada, just in case it's required anywhere. If you have previously tested positive for COVID-19, there is a path for you to show proof of that and to meet the requirements. So I highly recommend you to visit the Government of Canada website for this information. Within 72 hours of arrival, make sure to download the ArriveCan app. And this is the app made from the Canadian government, and the information you put into ArriveCan will go straight to Canadian government. You'll get a receipt after you fill it in, and the border officer will ask to see that receipt. So I recommend to, if it's possible, to complete this before you get on a plane, just so you're not stuck at the airport trying to do it on your phone before you get to the border. Next, I will talk a little bit more about fully vaccinated travelers. And please note the Canadian government's definition for fully vaccinated traveler for travel purposes is very, very different from the provincial requirement for vaccinated people in Ontario. So in this slide, I am strictly talking about fully vaccinated travelers as defined by the Government of Canada for travel purposes. As I mentioned earlier, if you're not fully vaccinated, don't worry. As long as you have your approved study permit, you will be able to enter Canada. Being fully vaccinated, only the only difference is if you're fully vaccinated, you may be exempt from quarantine. So according to definitions from the Government of Canada, you're only considered fully vaccinated if you have the full set of Government of Canada accepted COVID-19 vaccine. So these are the 4 that are currently available in Canada or accepted by Canada. So that's the Moderna, the Pfizer, the AstraZeneca, and the Johnson & Johnson. So if you receive those vaccines and it has been 14 days since your final dose, then you may be considered fully vaccinated. Any other vaccines that are not approved by Government of Canada are not accepted for travel purposes. Make sure that you have your proof vaccination in English or French. If it's not in English or French, you need to have a certified translation of it, and upload this proof to ArriveCan before you arrive. And of course, the border agent will determine if you meet the requirement, because one of the requirements is that you have no symptoms of COVID-19 when you physically arrive at the border. So we cannot determine ahead of time that you will be exempt from quarantine, but if you meet all of these requirements, you will likely be exempt. And one of the requirements is to not have signs or symptoms of COVID-19 when you actually get to the border. If you want to learn more about this fully vaccinated requirement from the Canadian government, this is a very helpful webpage you can visit to see if your situation qualifies. So finally, after arrival, if you don't need to quarantine, if the border officer determines that you meet the fully vaccinated traveler exemption, then you're good to go. All you have to do is click the option that says you're exempt from quarantine on the iSend app, and then you can go on with your day. You don't have to do anything else on the iSend app. But if you do need to quarantine for 14 days, you will receive a test when you arrive at the airport. Oh, sorry, if you're fully vaccinated, you may or may not receive this test. If you're fully vaccinated, they will do a random testing. So we don't know if you will for sure get this test. If you don't, then that is completely fine. But if you need to quarantine, you will get this test for sure. And then they will also give you a home test, which you will complete by yourself on day 8 of your quarantine. And if you're coming to Canada through land, so driving from the United States, they will have detailed instructions at the land border as well. So for your day 8 test, if you receive a negative result, you may complete your quarantine after day 14. If that day 8 test is positive, you must isolate yourself immediately, and the health departments will contact you to let you know what to do next. Daily wellness reporting on the iSend app is very important to let the university know that you're still in quarantine and you're meeting all the requirements. And at the end of your quarantine, you will be prompted to declare the completion of your quarantine on the iSend app as well. Here are some of the few things that you can do after you have arrived in Hamilton. So as we mentioned before, if you have all the documents available to you, you can apply for your social insurance number online and update your information so that if you have an address in Canada, if you have a Canadian phone number, update it on Mosaic. You can, if you're arriving with your spouse and or children and you need to add them to your UHIP health plan, you can email our UHIP administrator at International Student Services, Randa, at her email to add them to your health plan. And of course, during your quarantine, you're more than welcome to participate in online activities and course contents if applicable. If you don't know if there will be online components to your program, please email your program to confirm. After completing your quarantine, if you don't have a full set of vaccination as defined by the Government of Ontario, you need to get your vaccination to meet the requirements of MACCheck, and more information will be sent to you by email, including what it means to be considered fully vaccinated in Ontario. You can visit a bank to get a Canadian bank account. You can get your bus pass. Detailed information is available through your Graduate Student Association's website. And if applicable and you're planning to drive in Ontario, you can look into ways to get an Ontario driver's license. So this is all for the content portion of your of today's presentation. Just a quick reminder, after today's presentation, you are encouraged to sign up for the International Grad Navigator program. The sign up is not open at this time, but it will be open within the next week. So please look out for that email. You can also go on to our webinar library to review past webinars. They have been recorded. And the International Student Services Office is also hosting a Hamilton is Home webinar on December 7th. And in this webinar, folks from International Student Services will welcome all international grad and undergraduate students and talk about culture in Canada and what it is like to live in Hamilton. And next, I will address some of the questions that are still in here in the Q&A section. And I see that my colleague has answered so many of these questions already, and thank you so much. If you don't have an outstanding question in the Q&A that requires answering, you are more than welcome to leave the session. We are very grateful that you joined us today, and we hope that we will see you on campus soon.